So the first question for you, Jenny, will be, you're blessed with such insightful skills, and I'm sure the audience would love to know more about you. So please go ahead.
Yeah, I am a family nurse practitioner. I am also a mother, an author, podcast host, and I actually have also started a nonprofit organization that kind of clumps all of the work that I do. It's just kind of a way that I feel I can give back um, in a group way to humanity.
That's great. So much
Yeah.
duties you're up to. Okay, so from being a family nurse practitioner to being a founder of health and weight loss clinic, and now you're going forward in your spiritual awakening journey. So how has the experience been till now?
So it's definitely a journey. It's definitely a journey. I think I have just allowed everything, all of the talents that are within me, I just allow that to come to the surface and I'll allow it to be expressed and I enjoy it. So it's almost like enjoying all the different versions and aspects of myself. So it's actually been fun. It's been real fun.
That's amazing to know.
Yeah.
So what really attracted you towards this spiritual field? Like like how you felt the connection, and you just thought to get into this field.
Yeah, so, I personally don't think it was something I just said, hey, I want to go ahead and dive into spirituality. It was actually a call. I was in a transition in my life, and I know kind of how spirit works within me. And I knew it was a time that I needed to be still and to listen to what was being shown to me. And I knew that I was in the beginning of a huge spiritual awakening. And that's exactly what happened. So I would say I definitely didn't seek it out. It sought me out. And I just trusted and surrendered to the process, and things became clearer over time.
So, what was the wow moment like when you realized that you really want to go deep into it?
So, I had been married twice, so I was into the second marriage very early, probably within a year. And I do understand that when you are married, it is supposed to be a very spiritually growing connection. And I felt that that's the way things were moving. However, when I did voice that to my husband at the time, it was met with some opposition, and that's okay. I didn't want him to have to do it, but I knew that I was growing spiritually and I just wanted that space to be able to do that. And again, it just didn't fit with, I guess, his version of marriage. And so that ended in a divorce. My father also passed away. I had ended full-time employment for full entrepreneurship. So things were very, very cloudy. I was, yes. And
it became tough for you.
yeah, it was. And and at that time I had really called out for a love that I could feel at the pits of my soul. And when I did that, I really tapped into a frequency, a vibration. And that is when things really started to change and shift.
So you just hit the rock bottom and then start arising from there, I would say.
I wouldn't say it was rock bottom. I was actually at a wonderful point in my life. I was just going through transitions. I just say it's just transitions. It was just changes. Yeah.
That's really good perspective, because most of the time people just start doubting the universe, the faith, and the purpose of life itself.
Right.
So,
Exactly. I definitely wouldn't say rock bottom. I was very grateful and thankful during that time. I was in peace with whatever had to fall off. I didn't mind it. I trusted. I knew that everything was working for my good. I just had to just wait and just let it all fall in place, let the dust settle.
so what really gave you that faith that yes, things are working in your favor? because at times like that, people don't really trust themselves. So what really gave you that faith?
Well, just since from young, growing up, I've always had a real internal way of going within and finding everything that I needed versus looking on the outside of me. So anything that I was facing in life, I always went within myself. So if I needed strength, if I needed peace, if I needed just whatever it was, I always went within to find that. And I think over time, just having that way of dealing with life, it has helped me tremendously. So I'm able to go within my own self and I don't have to look outside for anything.
Great. So it just came naturally to you.
I grew up in a small town in Louisiana, a single parent that had my mom had 4 children. She made maybe $10,000 a year. So definitely, we didn't have a cush life, but we had a lot of love in our family. That was really, really instilled in us. It didn't matter what you faced outside. Know that you were loved and that no matter what, there was always a way. So I think having those core morals and values instilled in my home early on really, really helped me to know where my strength always came from.
That's really insightful to know. So what can you say about the people who's external support? Like you got within your family, the love, the care. But what about the ones who just seek the external validation to, to do something or to get motivated?
Yeah.
What can you say about that?
It's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes if you don't have it for yourself, sometimes, you need it to come from outside sources. But it's important to know that you already have everything you need within you. And it's going to come a point in time in your life that if you have not started that process of going within, it's going to be a point where you're going to only have yourself and you're going to have to eventually go within. So, it could be anything. It could be a death of a family member. It could be sickness. It could be anything that at some point, no one's going to be there. And that's when you're going to have to make the decision, okay, it's just me and God and spirit and the universe. And what is it that I need to do? And when you listen to those promptings and you get those answers for yourself, because we're all on a different journey. And so what works for one person may not work for the next person.
That's right. So do you think people realize that this is the make or break point of their life? Because not many have that awakening moments, right?
Right. I would say majority of people think that when something is happening in their life that they go to the why me, and
Right.
and I think that has been the biggest cause of our infliction over time. We're here to learn lessons, and a lot of it is soul lessons. And when things are going on, that's when you really have to kind of stop and just ask the universe, okay, what is it that I'm supposed to learn in this situation? What is it you're trying to show me?
Right.
Yeah.
Is that takes a lot of faith, actually, trusting the universe.
It does.
Questioning the universe.
It does. It does.
Necessary.
Yes.
So, what would be the top 3 lessons that you have learned when it comes to excelling in career?
I would definitely say one is stay authentic to who you are, because that way you will get everything that is purposed for you. When we start to become people and doing things that's not true to who we are, we end up eventually, coming to some hard stop, and then we have to turn back around and start over. So definitely just staying authentic to who you truly are is very, very important. I would also say stay aligned with what you deem is your values and purpose at that time. And what I mean by that is always do the right thing when no one is looking. Because again, if you don't, you will eventually come to a stop and have to turn back around. And I'd say the last thing in anything is try to make love the bottom line in decisions. And I think when we keep love at the foundation in any decision, and sometimes when you do that, you're not the person that's going to come out on top, but eventually you will see the blessing from that. So making love the bottom line would be the third one for sure.
So, do you think it is easy to apply these lessons when we are living in that social media era, where people are just consuming the media and doubting themselves, staying authentic and staying aligned to the purpose is getting tougher. Do you think that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you really have to be authentic now. You really have to stay aligned because the programs and everything that the outside world is throwing on us is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So we have to become stronger and stronger and stronger in who we truly are.
Yes, the FOMO is really hitting.
Yes, it is. It is.
Achieving great success, enjoying. And then, the questioning hits, like what you are really doing. So it's getting tougher.
It is. It really, really is. And that's why you have to have a foundation. You have to, who are you? Because if you don't decide that, this world is going to decide it for you. They're going to tell you where you're a social media model, or you should be this, or you should do that. If you just sit there and look at all that. So you have to decide who you are for yourself.
And that won't be authentic. If people on the social media are going to tell you what you're here for, so that won't be a right path to walk on.
Correct.
Okay, yes. So now talking about your book, The Capacity of Love, right?
Yes, Capacity to Love.
Can you share more about the book and what made you write this?
So Capacity to Love, an awakening to unconditional love. It was definitely inspired by my own personal spiritual awakening. And it takes you on a journey on what is capacity and what is love and how to align with unconditional love and the higher purpose and mission of being in that frequency of unconditional love. And then once you are awakened to this, how do you maintain it? How do you stay in that vibration? So it was definitely inspired by my own personal spiritual awakening. And, we just hope that it could be, peace in times of distress, definitely, a source of love in times of fear, and definitely light in times of darkness, especially like now. So, yeah.
So, talking about the capacity of love, can you just give a brief intro of what is it and how to build up your capacity?
Yeah, so capacity basically is stretching. It's growing into something. It's also being able to contain a little bit more and more, right? So in capacity to love, you may, and this is in all aspects. So, it's in relationships, it's in business, it's in everything that you do, because we have to deal with people. Everything is based on relationships. And so, if you're dealing with someone who has a gallon, of a capacity to love, and then they're dealing with someone who only have a teacup, there's going to be issues. There's going to be push and pull. There's going to be barriers to that other person that only has a teacup. And so the book kind of, it takes you into, you know, how to build your capacity if you know that it's pretty limited. And it, you know, limited capacity comes from so many things. Childhood experiences, you know, some people just never grew up in loving environments. They've had very toxic environments. It also just talks about how social programming, you know, within our own cultures and races and within our own countries, how all the social programming, which is always learned behavior, how all of this keeps us from loving. You know, we may not love someone because they have a different race, you know, they're a different culture, because of the clothes they wear, the job they have, the money they make. You know, we have all these barriers on why we don't love. And so it's about building that capacity and breaking down those barriers and understanding that we are all just sparks of the same God body. And so when you get down to that, we are just love, and we're here to love. So it's really about an awakening to who you really are.
Great. So, you know, talking about love and the relationships, your twin flame is the co-author of the book, right?
Correct.
So would you like to share more about him and how did you meet him, and you know how things go further with you?
Yeah, so Russell Bruce, he is the co-author of Capacity to Love, who is also definitely a twin flame love. In chapter 7 of the book, we go into that. We go into how we both were magnetically drawn to each other during that time, how it was a mirroring, how we had to heal the masculine and feminine polarities of each other, and how we then merged as one. And you know, during that same time when I was going through the transitions, and when I did call out to God and say, hey, I want a love that I could truly feel, that's unconditional, that is on a soul level. And then little did I know, he appeared. And when we met, it was definitely a magnetic draw. However, I was still very much within myself and within prayer and meditation, and wanting to know exactly, okay, why this guy, why now, why so much of this electrical activity is going on in my heart chakra. And yeah, it gets really, really deep. And so I kept asking the universe to reveal, and the more I asked, the more signs were, I was having lots of dreams with him in it. A lot of those dreams came to pass. I would see his name on street signs and company logos. And even then, even when this awakening was occurring, I was like, okay, no, I need one more sign. I need one more sign, because it was crazy. Number synchronicities, 444, 1111. Things were, it was all awakening. I was seeing the world from a whole different lens. And when this is happening, you kind of feel weird, so you can't talk to anyone about it. But I did communicate with him about it. And I had reached out to him originally because I saw him from afar. And when I was establishing my medical and weight loss clinic in this same vibration. I only wanted divine relationships. And he was a chef. And so I was like, well, I would like to refer my weight loss clients to him. And so that's how the conversation started. But then it rolled into this amazing spiritual unfolding. And when I started to share like some of the things that was happening, he totally understood it. And then actually he started to experience the same thing.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was a whole enlightening process that occurred.
Kind of feeling. So, can you explain more about twin flame relationships and how to recognize them? Because you just said that there were multiple signs. So, how do you recognize that, and how do you feel that connection?
Yeah. So I do want to just mention, a lot of people get twin flames and soulmates confused.
Yes.
And so again, it all depends on what your belief is. You know, I totally believe that we are spiritual beings having a physical temporary experience, and that we are here on the physical plane to learn and grow. Our soul has to learn human reactions and emotions and all those things. So that's why we have different tests that come about. So soulmates, you may meet someone who you guys have the same soul lesson. And so once that soul lesson occurs, and sometimes those two people go in different directions. So that's why you may see people who be married for 20 years and they have children, and then they divorce or separate, because whatever their soul lesson was, they did it, and now they're on to a new journey. Twin flames is more of a purpose work. It is a purpose work for the greater good of humanity. And typically it is a feminine energy and a masculine energy that harness down the unconditional love of Mother, Father, God. And that love comes down into the earth. And we see twin flames come into union when there are huge shifts and transitions in the earth, like such as now.
Yes, that's right.
Yes. And so that relationship is to reflect and embody the unconditional love of Mother, Father, God in that masculine and feminine energy.
That's amazing, you know, because many people doubt, because they find their soulmate, but they complain that they are not able to be together, or they're separated. And they are sure that that person is the soulmate, but they cannot be together. So I think you just gave a very clear answer to it.
Yes. And what I have learned is that you have to have a lot of spiritual maturity to really recognize the twin flame union. And if someone and you have to make sure it's not just toxicity showing up on why they're not together, because you do a lot of mirroring. However, if each person has not done their own interpersonal work, the relationship, because it's a very strong connection. So if you have not done your inner work, you can have that push and pull, back and forth.
I've seen that happening.
Yeah.
Because it is the constant complaint, you know, because I started my tarot card reading journey just a few months back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a common question, you know, the person is my soulmate, why we are not together? And the relationship keeps getting toxic, you know, there's no happiness, but they are sure that they are soulmates, so they want to be together. So they just resist being separated.
Yeah. And it's true. You really have to know that, okay, is this toxic, and is this just some soul wounds that I need to personally work on? And it's true. Twin flame is truly about the unconditional love of God that is really just shining through those two people. And they understand that on a high spiritual level, and that the mission is not just them, it is for humanity.
Humanity, great. So you're talking about love and purpose. Can you tell me that how can love and purpose help the person in the healing journey?
Wow. I mean, love is healing. I mean, that's pretty much it. Love heals, love restores, love rejuvenates, love brings peace, love makes you healthy. All of it. So when you can really tap into that frequency and vibration, you will witness a true transformation in your life.
That's great. You just explained love so easily. People are just experiencing the opposite kind of things and naming it love.
Yeah. True.
So, you know, what kind of advice do you want to give to those people, you know, who just resist that acceptance that this is not love? You know, if they have been together for years, it doesn't mean that they actually share that love.
That's true. That is very true. Did you have was there a question to that? I didn't hear the beginning of it.
Yes. Like, what can you say to those kind of people? I mean, I know there is no use of telling them, but still there can be something.
So the question is, what can I tell people who don't think that it exists, or
like they don't accept that in the relationship they are, the toxic relationship they are, is not love. It is
Gotcha.
just toxic attachments.
Gotcha.
How can we make them realize
Hmm.
this?
That's tough because people get really, really set on their mindsets. But if you're controlling, if you're being manipulative, if you're having to do things that bring out the worst in you and not the best in you in that relationship, it's not love. It is toxic, and it's stemming from some unhealed wounds. A lot of times we attract who we are. So if there are some things that keep being mirrored in that relationship, honestly, you have to look within yourself and say, what do I need to work on? And it's just not worth it. It's not worth the health. It's not worth, the peace to be in these toxic cycles. It's just not worth it at all. And unfortunately, until that person make up their mind that, okay, I'm truly done with this, I don't think it's a whole lot more that anyone on the outside could really do.
Yeah, right. Because it's all about, emotions, controlling them.
Yeah.
And that makes us to the next topic,
Yeah.
how to master your emotions.
Yeah. So I have another book out there. It's called 7 Steps to Mastering Emotions, Gaining Emotional Intelligence, and Getting the Best Out of Life. And I take the reader through 7 steps that will, if you work on it, it will gain you into self-mastery, because that's what it's about. We are here to master our own emotions, our own reactions to the emotions of others. What we normally want to do is control other people. We want to control how they respond. We want to control how they feel. And that's not what we're here to do. We are here to individually and independently master ourselves.
Right. A lot of people, don't realize that.
Oh, I know. Many, many people. And until emotions are mastered, it hinders us from getting to unconditional love.
That's true. Many people doesn't really believe in unconditional love. So, do you think it really exists, the unconditional love in today's society?
So if you are looking at the outside society, I would say no, because it's all on conditions. Society teaches us that it's about our race, and it's about our, culture, and it's about the job we have and our salary and our bank accounts. So society, of course not, because society puts conditions. Unconditional is all about love beyond all human conditions. So you cannot find that outside in society. You can only find that with a connection to yourself and to the higher universal power that connects us all together.
Yes, like this is the kind of knowledge, the world is really need to have. And it's
Yes.
great that you're bringing up this up and writing books upon it. And it's great topics to discuss.
Yes, I'm real passionate about it. And again, it was definitely through my own journey. And I think it was purpose for me to do that so that I could be doing what I'm doing now.
Okay, so any last advice that you would like to give to our listeners, how they can start their spiritual journey, or recognize that it all lies within them. So,
Right.
any last piece of advice?
Everything has to start with ourselves. So you have to want to be a better person. So you have to have that desire to want to be the best version of yourself. So without that desire, nothing can really start. So when you take that first initiative and just tell yourself, hey, I want to be the best version that I can be on all levels, the universe will respond to that. You just have to be open to it. Yeah.
It definitely does. And yes, thanks. Social media is not at all bad actually, because it is driving this a mass of people towards spirituality. You know, even if they just talk about the external factors, like they bring up the post, many people doesn't really understand it, but yes, they interact with it, and somewhere it is just hitting them.
Yeah, I agree. I think social media can be wonderful. I mean, it can bring people together like you and I, who are, you know, two different areas of the world. It could really bring people that are in the same frequency and vibration together to do amazing work. And I think that's how we should use it. And I think it's a great tool. You know, everything can be used if we allow it to be used for the good, the greater good.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like it has been amazing to talk to you, and
Yeah.
you really brought up important things. You really addressed the important topics, the issues that are currently, being talked about, and people are really being curious to know more about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's my pleasure. And I think we need more and more and more of these conversations because I think as the world is changing and we're shifting, it's really needed. It's really needed.
Do you think that this COVID phase has brought up the transition, the much required transition?
Yes, I do believe that. There's so many levels to the COVID and the pandemic, you know, that I just don't even want to get into. But I do believe it was a time that we all needed to stop and reevaluate ourselves on all levels. And the people that did it, you could see that they're thriving. You could
Yeah,
see
definitely.
they're thriving.
I've
They've
seen.
made Yep, they made the pivots and the shifts in their life. They're doing things. And then those that didn't, they are suffering a little bit, you know?
Yes, that is also true. You know, the both part of the society is true. But yes, the people who really took the advantage are less, but they are there.
Right. Yes.
Okay, so it was great to have you here and
Yeah,
great to
thank you
have
so
this
much.
conversation.